Together we can set the value of our ecosystem. What does it mean to be a border? What does it mean to belong to SwissBorg? And then together create a new ecosystem that will not necessarily always initiate by us, but by community members that want to carry the work, they identify themselves with the initial work, and they are going to perpetuate, in a sense, the initial idea. So, if I want to use a caricature, the goal of SwissBorg was to write the Bible, not necessarily to be involved in every church that are going to be created in the world. And the essential dream of the DIO is to say, it's not something that exists as of today, right? We still live in, when you think about it, the corporate world, so most of the company that we know today, they are using a model. So the corporate model, it's a model that has been invented at a time where the phone was not existing, right? So we carry in the world of digitalization with model, social model, interaction, collaboration framework that have been invented at the time where even the phone was a remote idea. There is a need to reinvent the way we collaborate as society. And DIO is a concept, but it's still yet to be defined. So the idea of SwissBorg was to say, how can we create the more engaged, how can we bring the more engaged, the more passionate community member all together? Together we still extend the universe of SwissBorg itself, because SwissBorg is much more than just a financial hub. It's an entire ecosystem that wants to fight for some values. So now when you look concretely, what happened is the initial idea of the DIO was to say we are going to bring community members together, and and by making them collaborate, maybe some project can emerge. It didn't happen. I think the initial idea and the initial hypothesis was a bit maybe too optimistic. So then we go back and we say, because SwissBorg is more than a financial hub, and we want to show the path of what we can create with our values, let's initiate new project. And that's how Xborg and SUNY, and there is other project as well that have been created. And when you look at Xborg, for example, which is Eat Sport and Gaming, for the one that doesn't know, it's a spin-off of the SwissBorg ecosystem. It's a new DIO project. It's not necessarily linked to finance, right? When you think of Eat Sport and finance, they're not necessarily linked. There is links such as you can create a retirement product for professional e-sport gaming with finance, but it is just cross-collaboration. The beauty of Xborg is it's nothing to do with finance, but it is inspired by the value. So when you look at the e-sport Web3 e-sport space, right? Xborg is now, we had a competition recently, and we've been the best. How do you explain that a project that is so young is already the best of the eSport Web3 that you can find, while other projects have raised a ton of money and have never done the hard work? And I think the essential philosophy is to say, yes, we can create projects that are inspired by SwissBorg values, which are transparency, community centrism, honesty, and hard work. And when we infuse this value and we find the people that feel aligned with that, then we can create anything. And I think essentially that's the message we want to send, because the idea of the DIO is to empower anyone in the community that feel inspired by the value to create anything that can just enhance our ecosystem. And I think the initial version of the DIO was a bit too simplistic. Now we say it's part of the adventure, right? We have so much to create. Again, DIO is such a new concept. We need to try. And when we try, then we need to learn with this experience, and we need to reflect, and we need to adjust. So we are in the transition phase, where I think the first version of the DIO was very successful in the sense that we learned something. We learned that at this stage, we need to be more involved, so still have this involvement at the early stage of launching a project, but creating a new template for having this project that can scale in the future. And maybe the initial dream of the DIO to have community members that can come and start their ideas based on the SwissBorg ecosystem value without having to rely on the core team. Hopefully in the near future, because of this project, can be a reality. And we have today you have a beautiful avatar, which is the cyborg project, right? So cyborg project is another dare type of project that I would love to see growing in the future directly with community. But we need I think we still need to create the ground for this reality to happen. So in a nutshell, just to to simplify, sorry if I overtalk about the topic, but the initial DIO, it's not the dream is still alive. It's just that we need to change a little bit the, let's say, angle in order to be more close to what is the initial idea. The DAO is still the most important part of it's the core of the thinking of SwissBorg. That's what makes us stand out.
Yeah, to be honest, that's a very good answer. And it actually brings up a very good point regarding the protect and choose, Anthony. We've kind of discussed this a little bit here and there through, the previous smart talks, but obviously it's a hot topic. And going on with this kind of DAO, the community, people getting engaged and involved. What are your thoughts about the protect and choose and how that's been received by the community?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, we go back to I think one of the key elements of SwissBorg is we always want to factor in the opinion of the community because we still feel like it's our strongest asset, which means that sometimes maybe we'll come with innovation and we need to try them in order to receive honest feedback. And obviously, I think there is things that need to be decided upon the reaction. I love the fact that some people protest and send some of the SHSB to the address on Ethereum to say, okay, we're part of the burning. It's good. I really love this interaction. And again, you can only progress in life if we maintain a healthy tension. So tension are not something that we should avoid. Conflict is not something that we should avoid. When we do that from a place of not an ego place, but from a place of, I would say, love and care, right? So when you truly want to be heard because you believe you can make the group progress. So I think we have Danny in the call. I had a talk with him before, before this discussion. We are already starting to think of, okay, so the protecting shoes is not naturally the best innovation there is. Maybe one of the evolution is to create a community fund. We can fuel what we discussed before, which is giving the opportunities to some community member under certain constraints to start their own dream, inspired by the philosophy of SwissBorg, the values. So I think again is nothing is static into the SwissBorg ecosystem, and we are very open to try, learn, and progress. So it's still a very open discussion, and it will be for years, I think.
To be honest, it's the one thing that's always struck me about SwissBorg, the philosophy that you guys have. It's the care and attention. I know sometimes as investors, people get frustrated. The market's all over the place. And it's nice to see things going up all the time. Yes, that's fantastic. But in the end, when you're trying to produce something, with the passion as you guys have, and with the thought and the care and attention to the community, it's almost like being a parent. You have a child and you try to, bring that child up in a certain way, and they're going to rebel sometimes, but ultimately, the end goal is still to raise a strong, a strong character, just like you guys are trying to raise, and produce a strong company. So yeah, awesome.
I love the comparison with kids, and again, is what makes a parent is just the experience. It's not necessarily that he's stronger than the kids, it's just more experience. And sometimes he will learn from the kid as well, right? If he's open enough and if he's honest enough with himself, sometimes we have a lot to learn from kids. And what separates us from kids is just experience. I think at SwissBorg is myself and Cyrus, we were on the sofa 5 years ago and we write this white paper, so we just have more experience. We consciously know that we are not the unique source of truth, and sometimes we are very much surprised as well with what we can learn from people that are not necessarily as much experienced, that care as much as we do, and that's a difficult job, right? Is because you need to learn to say no, and you need to say yes when it's required. But we're trying to do that from a place of, again, honesty. Even the team, with the team member, we have a hierarchy because at some point someone needs to take a decision. It's very open. I want to believe it's a very open and direct communication that we're trying to create.
Well, I do have a tricky question here for you that's bounced from the allocation that you were talking about when you said you wanted to, or we could, for example, finance the dream of our community members. A few people asked what the difference was between the protect and choose and the buyback. In what are they different, except that the protect and choose has a faith that's voted in by the community?
Yeah, in a sense, I mean, the buyback is going to go to the treasury, and the protect and choose is going to go to the discretion of the community to be used. Again, there are technical details. In my opinion, it's depend as well on the philosophy you believe in, right? Is, for example, I'm not necessarily a fan of Warren Buffett, but he's still a very seasoned investor, and he says things are extremely right. For example, he's going to say for him, paying dividend as a company is a mistake. The reason why it's a mistake is because you are going to give cash to investors that are less informed than you as a company, and in a sense, the probability that you are going to manage this cash in a better manner than an individual is much higher. And in that sense, even though it's a good marketing tool in a sense, or it's a nice functionality to have, you should never pay dividend, because you will provide more value to the investor if you reinvest in your own business. So the same, if I want to extend this thinking to what we're doing, is there is multiple level of what we can do with the token we buy back on the market. Either we give them back, very loyal user, and to some extent it's an interesting concept, right? But yet we are going to give this money back to individuals that are not necessarily going to invest as much as we can do to create value for the ecosystem. That's one. The second level is to burn this token. So when we burn, mechanically we reduce the supply. It's like a company buying back their shares. It's a tool that works over time, and it still provides value. And the last, which is the most difficult to orchestrate, but this is the one that creates this infinite loop of value, is to reinvest this money that you have into other projects, of the same ecosystem that will fuel even more the growth. So for example, if we give 50K dollar value of CSB to a project, but in return is going to sell an NFT or a new token, or is going to create a new business that will generate $1 million value of CSB sales, for example, because the sales will be performed in CSB, and you have a winning system. That's the essential part of the DAO. Is, when you look, for example, at the past 18 months, we've seen Doge, we've seen Shiba, we've seen so much meme coins, right? And I don't want to get into the debate of knowing if it's good investment or not, right? It's a completely different debate. I think it's very, even for myself, which I believe I spend a lot of time trying to understand the market, it's very hard to assess what does it mean, because in a sense, if people just want to have a token where they can play with, why not, right? The question is very manipulated, but it's very hard to judge the meme token thing. But reality is there was a business with meme token. So if we had a team that was saying meme token are cool, we are going to launch a SwissBorg meme token, and we are going to include a CSB utility within it just to enhance the ecosystem, I think that will be a project that will be very keen that the DAO will finance, because I guess the overall result for the CSB as an ecosystem will have been positive. We discussed, right? But it's just to give you an example. So there is this, what we need to keep in mind is there is always this free lever of action. And now we need to govern this. We need to decide how we are going to, let's say, redistribute the SHSB that we buy back or that we protect within this level. And I love the level 3, but it's a difficult exercise as well. So yeah.
Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate that, man. I want to kind of stay on this thinking, but move to the opposite end of the spectrum. So, you're talking about dividends and kind of trying to keep this balance between what's given out and while still maintaining, obviously, the ecosystem, as a healthy sort of ecosystem. But if we just kind of go to the opposite end of the spectrum and just talk about risk a little bit, predominantly, obviously, right now in the markets, things are a mess. And I feel personally that education plays a massive role. The more investors, sort of educate themselves and learn, and go through the process of trying to understand the mechanics of how markets work, how to use BSC scan, for example, just simple things, and learn how to control their emotions and invest in a sort of healthy way. With the help of a company like SwissBorg coming along, and trying to put all of this together. When something like what happened with Terra UST happens, which, by the way, I think you guys handled absolutely amazingly. I'll just throw that in there now. How does that play a role in the decision-making process that SwissBorg as a whole has to do, because it was on the fly? This is not something that you may have had contingencies in case something like this happens, but obviously you had to kind of work very fast, try to mitigate that risk for yourselves, for your investors, and so on. So can you just talk a little bit about the risk side of things?
Yeah, I mean,
as you laugh. That's a tough question. Sorry.
no, I mean, I love the question. Again, I'm going to go back to what I said in the first place. I think risk is a very misused terminology again. I'm going to explain myself.
I agree. Before you say anything, I absolutely agree. Go
on. I think it's the same of saying, it is, for example, volatility is again, is not necessarily a bad thing, right? What is a bad thing is because the misunderstanding of volatility is the action you are going to take. So volatility can be seen as an opportunity for most of the investor. I'm not unhappy that the market is going down, for example, because at the top of the market, I was lucky enough to hedge myself. And now I see project where I see it can create value in the 3 to 5 years. And I'm happy to invest at this value. And some people will sell everything because they misunderstand this concept of volatility. So I think the only wrong stuff attached with volatility is how you're going to act on it. So I think that the most difficult challenge for us at SwissBorg, and it's interviews and always have the same question: what's the challenge for you guys? Is first of all, I'm a huge believer of education by learning by doing. So I think SwissBorg, what we need to do more than anything else is to design a lot of investment experiences in the app or somewhere else that people can learn about themselves. They can learn who they are as an investor. To expect to invest and earn money after you've been in the business since 3 months is completely illusional. Losing money is not necessarily bad if you can learn out of it, because we have to find who we are as investors. I can tell you my story, I can inspire you by what I find about myself. If you follow the same rules, most probably you're going to fail. Investment is a journey to know the self, to know yourself as a person. So the same as believing that there is a secret formula to find the perfect wife, I think, yes, you can have some idea, or the perfect husband, you can have some ideas, but you still need to experience in order to find the perfect person. And the same goes on with investment. So you have to try it out. And I think the problem of the industry is every experience is not designed for you to learn something. Reason is because there is very little incentive for people that are building this industry to make you knowledgeable, because you are more willing to trade and then generate fees when you don't have the knowledge. So our mission at SwissBorg, for example, and it's a shame that we are not more, let's say, more fast in releasing the passive income, because the passive income is the evolution of the smart yield. which is, for example, the opportunity for people to invest for single assets such as USDC. We will give and hopefully very soon, so in the next month, we will give the opportunity for a user to choose different vaults that have different risk profile, different IPY. We will completely, in the space of right now, completely make sense, because with the Celsius, with the Free Arrow Capital, with the Voyager, with the BlockFi, now people find out that an API of 5% at SwissBorg is different from an APY at 10% at Celsius. Not because we dump, but because we have a risk perspective that is different. But again, it's why we can spend a lot of time trying to explain people that there is different risk, or we can design interfaces, we can build product that give you a very clear answer with that. That's the challenge of SwissBorg, right? Is what I was saying to the team is, yes, we can spend time trying to explain the risk. But I think the better explanation we can give is to show you free vaults, one that give you 2% because it's on Aave, one that give you 6% because it's on Convex, and the other that give you 10% because it's free with Free Arrow Capital. When you see the three of them, you start to ask yourself, why this one is 2%? And then the risk start to make sense. Because risk is most of the time in the perspective of a relative peer. So you understand the risk when you understand what's the less risky assets. So that's our mission is really to push the boundaries of an industry that is not obsessed with empowering people, and we see that very clearly, because most of the information that we see when it's come to financial asset are a derivative of price. When I look to an app, the first thing that I see is a price chart. Then I see market cap, derivative of price, volatility, derivative of price, all-time high, derivative of price, etc., etc. So most of the information that you guys see every time is direct derivative of the price, which doesn't empower you, because making decision into the investment space is much more than price. And price is most of the time an incentive to get you to an action in the short term, where investment is related as well to a vision in the long term. So if you look at Bitcoin since the beginning of the year, stable performances. If you look at Bitcoin, the spectrum of the past 10 years, it's the best investment you can ever make, the best, right? Again, performance is just as true as your investment horizon is true. And that's the most difficult part, is how can we create an experience that give you all this perspective without having to telling you, because when I say these things, it does make sense to you, but then you go back to your app and you are going to do the same mistake, because knowledge is just speculation and experience is knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
There was one thing that a little englobes a little bit of what we've been talking about here. We've seen other companies, competitors, or just indirect competitors, whatever, find ways to try to create value. They would over leverage to have bigger positions to be able to provide a better yield on the individual, or they would create extra programs, or they would have a premium that depends on how much your bag is worth, so that you'd always have to have a percentage in their token, and all of these ways that create value. And one of the questions that we've got here in the SB Coffee text chat is, in what way is Seaborg, Suniverse, and Xborg creating value to CHSB? And I think there's a point to be made here. Could you elaborate the long-term vision for these three, let's say, extensions?
Absolutely. So for the person that's follow us since a long time, we know we never short-term sighted. So we always look at what is the long-term value that we can create. So I can take the project one by one and explain how they're going to create value, but essentially they share a common characteristic: is how can we enlarge the community that is sharing our value? How can we enlarge the people that are interested in SwissBorg? I think when you look at crypto, generally speaking, besides speculation, we yet to find what's the use case. We yet to find what's going to trigger the mass adoption. So I have my hypothesis. I think gaming, data monetization through social media is going to be the enabler, right? That will, because you'll know that crypto becomes successful when people will stop to talk about Web3, when people will use the interfaces without even to have to worry what's the technology behind, but feeling the benefits for the user experience. Because, for example, the beauty of Web3 is we can create very low-cost mechanism that help you to monetize the time you spend in a game, right? In a healthy manner. I'm not talking about Axie Infinities, but it was a great use case just to show we can disrupt the gaming industry this way. Which is, it's not technologically, the enhancement is not technological. It is user-centric. It's just give me more power in the game, right? Because the asset that I fight very hard or I play a lot of time to have with, they belong to me. And I can exchange this asset not only in this game, but to other game, and I can export my reputation, for example, because if I'm a very successful Counter-Strike player, there is no reason why I will not be very successful into another game, and I want to export this reputation. When we come, so because we understand what SwissBorg can bring into the table, right, and what we can create when it's come to wealth management, how can we bring freedom for people to manage their wealth? Then yet it's not the only mean for us to grow our community, because not everyone is waking up every day and say, how can I be free to manage my wealth? Then we can address other communities, such as, for example, gaming, that are going to create wealth into this game that is a completely new type of paradigm, because for now your wealth is how much money I have on my bank account, and how much and do I have real estate, or do I have any asset in the real world that I can exchange for cryptos. In the near future, maybe data is going to be your asset, and how you are going to invest your data. That's something that your bank is not going to offer. So at SwissBorg, we want to be positioned here. So it's part of our very long-term thinking of saying wealth management is going to be much more than what we have today. It's going to be extended as the range of wealth for one individual is going to be extended. We see more and more projects of data monetization, and there is few of them that are very good, especially in the US. That's one, right? Is we need to extend our reach to other community that they start to know us, and they don't necessarily start to know us because they are looking for speculation of our investment. Then when you see, so that's one thing. When it's come to SwissBorg, for example, when I see Crypto.com spending almost $1 billion into buying a basketball arena, even if SwissBorg had this type of money, I would never accept that we spend this money there. I think there is much more. I would rather prefer to empower a new team, like esports team, or even a basketball team, to become very successful in the NBA and go along with them, than paying marketing and just buying an arena to rename the area the SwissBorg Arena. Just, I think, in our DNA as well, to want to see that, yes, we need to be positioned in marketing, rather than paying or sponsoring an esport gaming company. We are going to create one, and then they're going to bear our sign, they're going to bear our value, and our vision is esport is going to be super, super massive. It's going to attract millions and millions of users. And there is the best example is Twitch, right? Twitch come with this the initial idea of Twitch is that people can enjoy looking at other players playing. They say the inspiration came from poker. We were surprised that people love to see other poker players playing rather than play themselves. And the narrative that follows esports is just going to be a logic. It's going to be as famous as sports today. We want to be part of it, because maybe in 3 years from now, if we're not part of it, the only option we will have is to pay 500 million just to sponsor our esports team, where we can be part now. So it's part as well of our long-term strategy to say we still live in a world where we need to talk with different community that not necessarily are going to be interested in investment in the first place. Then we can create product as well that go along with it. Because again, players are going to create wealth into games. How they are going to manage their wealth is a question, but it's a question that SwissBorg can answer. And so we have a ton of line of product in mind, even for very professional esport gamer, right? When they are going to earn all this money, what they are going to do with this money, usually in the sport, in the sport, let's say, habits, is you have an agent that help you to invest this money, but maybe a virtual agent can have kind of retirement plan within SwissBorg for esport player. So it will help as well SwissBorg as an investment company to manufacture products that are very much designed to address a very specific need of a community. That's the future for SwissBorg. We're not going to be always this place where you come and you buy a few Bitcoins. We want to be much more than that. I think what you see from SwissBorg now is very simplistic. We are at the very, very early beginning of this journey, and we have a lot of ambition. All these projects, they address to address one community that we can't necessarily reach right now, but we believe can create value. For the Seaborg project is very much linked with this idea of making the world a better place to live, right? And we truly want to. I think we mentioned multiple times how much we value ESG value, beside again the terminology, but what does it represent as a philosophy? And we don't necessarily have the time, or we don't necessarily have the capacity to address, but we want to create a sustainable track in order to be exposed, right? And we can pay consultant, we can pay people, or we can create that. And it cycle back to this idea of the IO, because we believe that with strong value, a strong sense of commitment to our mission, then we can inspire a ton of new projects to be breed and to exceed into the SwissBorg direction, and all together to come together to create an ecosystem that is truly autonomous, which means that feeds them together. Concretely speaking, will it be a direct consequence on the SHSB on the very short term, in the next 6 months? Not necessarily. We're trying to find a very pragmatic use case, such as, for example, for SwissBorg, if we want to buy the merch, you will do it with SHSB, you get a discount, or this type of things, right? But the reasoning is not to put too much pressure on the project. The project needs to be healthy, and then we'll find utility. But most probably, if when SwissBorg or other project will have a token, we will have a drop, for example, for SHSB token holder in this moment, or people that have been very loyal to our ecosystem since the beginning. That's how as well we can create value for the entire ecosystem. The fine balance is to find the equilibrium. These projects are still very early stage, so the goal is not to push too much pressure on saying you need to yield the SHSB now. The goal is to say, can we create value together, because then it's easy to find a connection.
Thank you, Anthony. And just kind of going again, you mentioned something about the future of SwissBorg, and I think one of the things that has always interested me in terms of DeFi and CeFi, obviously as we evolve, as regulation comes, more into the cryptocurrency space, this is something that everybody, or at least it's something that affects everybody in this space. And I'm just wondering, how does SwissBorg kind of get the best of both worlds? Because ultimately, there is a lot of DeFi there. There's also a lot of centralized finance there as well. How do you guys keep that balance and kind of get the best of both?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think first of all, I'm never worried about regulation, because it's funny thing to say, but and again, today we see very clearly how inefficient regulation can be, because most of the actors, what they will do is they say, okay, here are the rules of the regulator. So how can I play by the rules and still fuck my customer? And that's they never position themselves in the thinking of how can I maximize the experience of my user. They say, no, we have customer, and how can we get the maximum business out of them without breaching the regulation? For us, it's much more easy because everything that we do is designed to create value for the user and to create enough business that we can keep going in our journey. So I'm never worry when we discuss about regulator, because I know in my heart I will do everything to protect the user. So I will never create a scheme that will please the regulator because it creates a sufficient, let's say, image that is strong to please the regulator and still fuck the user at the end and say, oh, maybe it will blow up. We'll do everything, even sometimes when we feel a lot of pressure. And we felt recently, right, when our yield program was going down while everyone was going up. We know it was to protect the user, and it was always the most important. So I think we show by a track record that and for example, 5 years ago, everyone was buying back the token to manipulate their price. It was very painful, especially for community member, when our price dropped to minus 95%. But we say we're never going to manipulate the token because it's unfair. We're destroying value for our community as well, and it's hard to see the price dropping. But we know it's not healthy to do that. And I think that's part of the reason why we're still alive today. And the same is true for earning, right? Where everyone complaining, saying that we're not giving enough yield. We say, yes, but it's not healthy to do so. And again, I think that was on the long term it's a winning strategy. So I'm never afraid to go to the regulator because I know we can always justify what we're doing because it creates goods for the user. So the way we mitigate with the regulatory risk is by technology. We invest a lot in technology, and sometimes that's why we slow as well, is because we are very extra careful into being very well, let's say, very much positioned with regard to the license we have. And it takes time because then you need to be creative. And it's a game that I love to play. So it's never really a concern. Now, when I talk about the space in general, I think regulation is going to be extremely difficult in the space. And I think until regulators start to develop their own technology, so to say, for example, okay, you want to be a custodian, and here is the APY or the wallet that you need to use, and that's a wallet that we provide. So I don't think it will ever happen, but that's the type of the discussion I had with regulators. And I say, you guys, if you want to do an effective job, now you need to become a technology provider, because otherwise, term and condition will always say something, and what's happening in the background, we will never know. And we are at the stage of the complexity of this world is so dense. There is no other option for a regulator, in my opinion, if they want to do an effective job, not a political job, to become just a technology provider. Then we can work hand to hand and create a better and more efficient world. Will it happen? I don't know. But until then, we develop things that create value, protect the user, and then we do the necessary work to please the regulator. That's I think, for us, the safest strategy.
Yeah, makes sense. And you actually said something about, just kind of going back, I remember being in the what used to be called the Wealth and Trading channel at the time, when SwissBorg was taking a bit of a downturn, and obviously it dropped quite aggressively. And it's actually quite interesting because, and I speak for myself, but this is something that I feel is really important to say. I've always found that you guys, because of your characters and because of the values that you have and the refusal to at least kind of bend the rules, I'll say it that way, or at least not go against what your core values are. And I'm speaking obviously to you, Anthony, but also to Cyrus and the team and everybody that that's at SwissBorg. I think that in itself is what is consistently being kind of, I don't want to use the word infected, but it kind of is I guess it infects all of the products, right? It infects all of the services that you guys, produce and you bring forward to the community. And I know I said this earlier, it is very frustrating when you're in something and you have this kind of expectation, whether it's, maybe due to a little bit of ignorance or whether it's due to a lack of education. But ultimately, people have these expectations that they're going to, buy into cryptocurrency in some form and make a lot of money. And when that expectation is not met, they fail to see, what the team behind, that project is going through, what they're doing, and maintaining that core, all those core values that you guys have. For me, I think is absolutely incredible. And I just wanted to kind of throw that in there. You don't really necessarily have to say anything about that, but like I said, just going on from what you were saying, I think it's really important that people understand that, because it's not an easy thing to do.
Thank you very much. Yeah, sometimes what I think life is much more simple than we imagine, and what you learn into your daily life is the same in crypto. And what I mean by that is, yes, you can be rich by buying a lottery ticket. We know few people do. Actually, some will be extremely rich, but we know that very, very, very small portion is doing it. And usually it's the person selling lottery ticket that is the rich person, right? And what you know is, if you want to become successful in your life, you need to hard work, right? You need to work very hard. And when you work very hard, usually it works if you do that in a smart manner. Nothing changed when it's come to crypto. People believing that they come and after 2 months, they're going to be millionaire and they can escape their life because they're not happy with their life and they kind of buy an exit ticket. I think it's a huge mistake, because nothing changed. It's not because we say crypto, technological world, revolutionary, and because you're early, yes, you maximize your chance to go faster than if you were selling tomatoes on the street. But yet, it's gonna take time. You can be lucky, right? That's true. But if you want to be successful in this game, you have to invest time. You need to be smart, and you need to retry as much as you can, and be very open with how much you have to learn, right? And I think in the team, what we say is, when always there is someone joining the product, I say, you better be ready to wake up every day and say, everything that I learned yesterday might be wrong, and I need to relearn everything. This is it's a journey, and it's a journey that most probably never ends. The same goes on for everyone, even including me, right? Is I look at the crypto, I say, fuck, I learned so much today, and I have so much still to learn, and with all I know, I still make mistakes. The last bull run, and I had very strict rules with myself never to invest in some type of project. I feel peer pressure, and I still invest, right? And I say to myself, okay, that's you see, you still have to be respectful to who you are as a person, and it takes courage and time. So I think at the end of the day is you need to be more responsible as well when you invest. You need to do that in full consciousness. So if you buy a lottery ticket and you click, then you should never blame the project, right? Because you came in the first place to buy a lottery ticket, and you need to be honest with that. You're not an investor. If you are an investor, then you will do the necessary groundwork, and maybe you say, okay, it's not necessarily producing. Yeah, I would wish to buy and do a 10x. Now it's down 10x. But okay, I'll go out less, or I'll work extra hard to invest even more, because I have true conviction that is an investment for the future. Any change the narrative is you should never give up your power to external factors. I think we are all responsible for the decision we are making. I think at SwissBorg, again, we're trying to be as transparent as possible, that people can empower to make that decision. But it's not our mandate, in a sense, to pump the token value. Our mandate is to create value and to be faithful to who we are and what we promise in the first place. And when we do that, I know it's create value on the long term for the token, and that's all what I'm interested about. The rest is, again, is part of the decision, one decision, and to be done in all consciousness.
Agreed. Perfect.
Yeah, thank you very much for this answer. very, very deep also. We've been talking about very heavy subjects for the last, I'd say 40 minutes or so. So thank you very much for this already. To lighten up the mood a bit, I'll be flexing our new, he's been there for about a month now, but the giveaway bot. In the channel SB Coffee Text, you'll be seeing a nice little giveaway. And I'll actually just do 3 of them straight right now, just to give a little breather to Anthony so that we can start again stronger. So we'll have 3 giveaways here you can click on. Everyone can participate to all of them. And that's 30 CHSB for each winner, which is pretty cool. It's quite literally free money. I don't know what the cost is. Yeah, maybe a little bit of time. You have to listen to us here, but I mean, you can make the evening profitable in terms of finance by getting some free CHSB in the job, and also by learning a bunch by just being here, which is also super cool. And I thank you for both of these participations. And the next question I wanted to go over, or it's more of just an opinion more than a question. But for example, I've seen a news article a couple of minutes ago of FTX closing on a deal to buy BlockFi for 25 million, which is 99% discount compared to their last year valuation. We've seen some companies bailing out others in crypto. Times are rough. There's no denying this. For companies, for people, for everyone in this sector. And FTX is here buying everyone. I think Coinbase is doing relatively well as well. How do you feel about all of this? And how would you react if a company was approaching SwissBorg and offering to buy us out for any reason?
That's a good question. So we're not too sold and we are not selling. Again, we're being very healthy, and it's going to be the second bear market that I think we will survive very well. And we're a bit the outlier, right, for the in the space, because we're not this giant. But in the meantime, we grow our own pace, and we're very proud of I think the seeing the community very enthusiastic and very positive as well help a lot. So it's not our ambition to sell, and we really want to put a statement to the world. I want to, 10 years from now, looking back and say, we do it differently, and we prove our point. Because you see this VC game and this big money game, at the end, there is only one winner. What we learn is there was a lot of people swimming, thinking they were shark, and actually they were fish. And they were they were fished by bigger shark, which is FTX, right? And when you look at this guy, yes, it's very impressive what they have done. Now, to be honest, to be 100% honest with you guys, it reminds me a lot when I was working in hedge fund and in finance, and it's a bit far from, I think, the initial dream of what crypto is, which is, someone say something that truly resonates with me. Say, in the past, it was all about creating the competitive advantage, so creating a company that can eat anyone else. Tomorrow, the future is about creating the collaborative advantages. How can we create ecosystem that can collaborate each other, that they enhance each other, the multiplayer effect? Unfortunately, that's not what we see, right? We see what you have to understand is what is very dangerous at the moment when we look the dominant position of FTX in Binance is amount of data and knowledge they have. They see, not only they see the position that you have on the exchange, but they see the position on the decentralized world as well, right? And you have really to understand it's a technical details that few people understand, but the level of information that you have because of decentralized nature of DeFi and blockchain is extremely high, right? If I see why I can liquidate you on the DeFi, and on top of that, if you're on my exchange and I see why your position, I can liquidate you because of leverage, then I can manipulate the market and calculate how much money I can make on top of you, which is not your money. It's the money of the user. They have no clue what they are involved with. That's a bit dramatic, right? And I think at SwissBorg, for example, when we don't sell the data of the user, and there is a fantastic avenue for us to claim, hey guys, you can trade with us, and we're never going to trade against you. We're not going to use your data in order to build an investment strategy that is extremely unfair because we have a massive asymmetry of information. The problem with FTX buying out everyone is, first of all, of course, they are part of the manipulation of the market in a sense, but it's what it is, right? It's maybe fair to say if you commit too much mistakes, this is what it is. Now, if they start to buy everyone, the level of data they are going to have on everyone is so intense that they will be in a position to govern which token is going to go up, which token is going to go up, down, when it's going to be liquidated, and etc. So we in a market that is still very easy to manipulate, it's terrible, right? And for example, and we really face in a world that loves so much decentralization, we really face the massive risk of centralization like in no other industry, and it's very bad. Because even if you are a project, for example, and you do your launchpad with Binance and FTX now, they are going to dictate if your token is going up or down. Very, very little option for you to decide. I think it creates opportunity for SwissBorg to keep going with the message of saying no manipulation. We have a launchpad that we launch, we can list your token, and etc. And really trying to create a counter force of balance because it's not healthy. So business-wise, very impressive. Health in general, very worrying. Very, very worrying.
Yep. I agree. I wanted to ask you, actually, Anthony, are you ever, one of the community members mentioned this, and I've actually been curious about this myself, going to be on any of the powwows going forward? You're obviously extremely intelligent, and I think the information that you share with at least the information that you've shared with us tonight and that you share throughout your journey is very welcomed and obviously helps a lot of people. Do you think that you would ever jump on a powwow and just kind of be there to say your part?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I think my role in the organization is more to be a coach. So now we have fantastic product person that are working with us, and I'm in charge specifically of the product manager that are looking at the investment product. And what I told them earlier today, because we had a session all together, is to say before making you product guy, I want to make you investment manager, because you need to truly understand what the market is about. So I'm not necessarily thinking of going myself to power, but I want to give the chance to this person to be in the power and share with you guys the knowledge that we share internally and truly empower them, making them the new generation that can take smart decision and again keep going with this value, which is protecting the user, not thinking growth all the time. I think we made some mistakes, for example, with the UST and taking being ambassador that will carry this value and this knowledge to the next generation as the turn will be right. So short answer, I don't think I will be in the power, but there will be product person more involved and sharing knowledge.
Perfect. Thank you. So we're just scanning through the SB Cafe text chat to see if there are any other questions for you as we're getting pretty close now to the end. Take a look.
Yeah, Luca asked a question here that I haven't fully made sense of, but you'll probably be able to answer it, Anthony. Will earned be based on DeFi yields, or will they be staking in there when talking about SwissBorg Earn?
Yeah, very good question. The innovation with passive income is right now, if you log into the app and you have, I don't know, USDC, we give you a yield which is the result of a diversification across different DeFi pools. But there is only one option. Very soon, hopefully in July, we will release the new version of yield, which is called passive income, which will give you the opportunity to have a different investment strategy. to put your crypto at work. Staking is going to be part of the option. DeFi is going to be part. I think in some extent as well, CeFi and other more exotic products are going to be part as well. Again, I think for us, it's all about protecting the user. So I think we want to experience new things, but maybe the amount of money you can invest that one can invest in one vote can be limited to, for example, $100 or $1,000 if we believe it's very experimental. It's the type of experience we want to give. Staking will definitely be part of what we will offer because it's the lowest earning option we have in the market right now. So it will be part, yes.
Perfect.
Thanks for the answer. Also, some people have noticed you gave a approximate of the date, which wasn't done so far. So I guess it's a good reward for the main contributors and people listening everywhere we are. So that's actually a debate we had relatively recently. Someone was saying that it was unfair for people to be able to have a bit more information on Discord, for example, or by following Twitter. But I want to say it's the rule of the game. It's a public space. Anyone can join. I've made a few announcements. If you're there, well, then obviously you might get a bit more than people who aren't passionate enough to listen. So here we go.
I think as well, Ben, it's important to say that, obviously I agree with you, but I think it helps people to engage, Discord is such an amazing place. Obviously it can be crazy sometimes, but it's an amazing place. And I think having, or at least being on Discord and having that little bit of extra incentive, can kind of force people to come here. And who knows, you can make friends online, you can, get the information you need, and obviously get first look, a lot of things that get done. So it's important, man. It's important. And to be fair, people need to just get off their backsides and just do it anyway. Do you know what I mean? I think it boils down to a little bit of convenience as well. People just can't be bothered, So if you can't be bothered, then you miss out.
Exactly. I think we've been building up to a good end here, to a good note. Maybe Anthony, do you have something to say or an advice or something to end on a positive tone in this bloody market?
Yeah, I mean the future is bright, as Alex loves to say. Again, it's very early for crypto. I don't think it's the end of what we are going to see when it's come to volatility. Even when we compare this bear market with the previous one, is the major difference is the macroeconomy. Is not only a lot of uncertainty when it's come to crypto, but as well in the traditional world. So it's difficult because it's very hard to predict what's going to happen in the short term, and it can create, because of the massive injection of liquidity, it can create and as well a puzzle that has been created in very unhealthy manner, and that's what we witness with Luna, Free Arrow Capital, etc. So there's a lot, that is still to be unpacked. I think I think there is still a lot of systems that are unhealthy. SwissBorg, we are very healthy, so we are very proud of that. And but yeah, I mean, if you are here for the long-term game, I think it's crypto are inevitable. Like we will have them anyway, right? So it's a great moment as well to buy them, and buying, always wanting to buy the low, sometimes it's difficult. I do expect that we might see more volatility. It's just a result of technical factors, and same as when we see the high becoming too high, we will see the low becoming too low, which will be aberration, and we can size this opportunity. Maybe we should organize as well, another talk how to detect that. We're trying to publish an article these days as well to share a bit of knowledge with the community. But yeah, I mean, what I do see in this moment is I see very loyal member, and it's there is no better reward for a founder to see such an engaged and very happy community. And from the moment we do that from the a place of heart, and we still manage to create this small moment where we have exchange. I think, yeah, it can only grow stronger, and this moment of adversity will speak volume in few months or years from now, when we can claim SwissBorg has been part of the first bear market, the second bear market. We're still here, we're still growing, we're still having an amazing community, amazing people joining the core team, and it's it's just we're just part of the landscape now, and you can't escape us. We're just a logical player in the field, and yeah, we're here for the long-term game, so don't worry.
Amazing.
100%. Fantastic. Thank you, Anthony.
Perfect. Thank you. I don't think there's anything to add. Thank you, Anthony, 1,000 times for all the time that you spent here. It's been insanely valuable. I hope everyone here has enjoyed, and I thank everyone for joining. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you next time. Cheers, everyone.
Take care, guys. Thanks, Anthony.
Okay, guys.
Wow, that was great.
To be honest, I'm going to say I think that was probably one of the best smart talks we've done, to be fair.
Yeah, I think
Very
yeah,
much.
definitely every time there's a SwissBorg employee, it's very easy to build on stuff, because actually I feel it's easier when we all know what everyone's talking